Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristen West, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Women Want Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us for our show tonight, Behind the Cover. Kristen West and I are co-hosting this amazing show, which just got picked up for TV. Yes, we are going to be coming out with a TV show early next year, and I will actually get to see Kristen when we're hosting it. You see, I'm broadcasting from New York, and Kristen is in our studio in LA. And Kristen, I think it's time we do this show together so we can see each other and have more fun and have more guests. It's going to be phenomenal.
You know, I loved being on stage with you at What Women Want conference this past weekend, and the energy in the room was electric. And I loved actually being on the stage with you. It was a totally different and unique experience. And having our guests on stage, too, with us was exciting as well. Having Nikki and Addison Walter on the stage was great. And I can't wait to be on TV with everyone.
I know, it really is. And I feel like when we can see each other, there's so much more, like you said, electricity going on and fun. And it's going to be so amazing when we can produce a show when we're together. So I'm looking forward to that there. And I so appreciate you coming in from LA and co-hosting the conference with me. It really was just so fun. And the magnitude of expressive women and joy and transparency throughout the weekend, learning and connections. It was just unbelievable. It's a dream come true. So I'm very happy about it too. And we want to thank all of you for listening out there, What Women Want Talk Radio listeners. We've reached 1,250,000 downloads over that since we first hit the airways. And between latalkradio.com's archives, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and all over social media, you can find us everywhere and soon on TV. So listen to those replays. And we are taking sponsors for our show for the next few months also. So email us for a complete deck through our website, whatwomenwantradio.com. So the name of our show, Behind the Cover, came from my fascination with what's behind people's facade. I meet so many different people from all over the country all the time. And it amazes me all the stories that make us who we are. You know, really the inside that makes us up, that just puts us together and puts us out there. And it's also interesting to be coming from a modeling background where we constantly feel like we're seen as something that we may not necessarily be. There's so many layers to people when you see them, right, Kristen?
It's so true. Some people have interesting hobbies that you would never guess that they have. Some people have life struggles that they've never shared, that you wouldn't believe that they have. And I think that's kind of at the heart of what we do here each week, is really get people's stories. And we learn from the stories, the good stories, the bad stories, and ultimately I think the heartwarming stories. I think that's what the thread is that when you really open yourself to someone else's experience of life, you can learn something that might be valuable to you now, or something that might clarify your past, or something that might even be coming towards you in the future.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's really the whole point of, What Women Want is learning from each other through our stories and what we've been through, triumphing through our adversities and, really plowing through life, whether it's good or bad, and how we deal with it and how we can teach other people to really facilitate themselves into being the best that they can be, through our stories. And of course, I was playing off the word, the fact that our first guest is a singer-songwriter behind the cover, Liz Gabriel. I'm excited because we're playing a release of hers, a new release that's actually coming out tonight. So we are honored to have that on the show. She's going to be talking about her background and her story, which is a very mystical type of story, how she got in the music industry, and how she got into performing. And also, Christine Agro is going to come along a little bit later and really tell us how to detect what lies beneath ourselves, the core of who we are, and how to really find it and put it out there. And my background comes originally from high fashion modeling with Ford New York. And after that, I experienced the other side of the camera and became a magazine editor, then an author with St. Martin's Press. And that didn't last very long because currently now I'm the host of AWE's Behind the Gates, and we're moving into our second season in November. I'm excited. So I'm also a regular contributor on NBC and Fox, and a mom of twin teenage girls. Ton of hormones in the house. I'm also an entrepreneur, and I founded the company, as we were talking about before, What Women Want Networking, which is the host of What Women Want Conference, National Conference. My company has been around 7 years, and we are just finished up this weekend, like you said, Kristen, and I just can't express the magnitude of vulnerability and transparency and positive energy that was weaving through the conference all weekend. It was just unbelievable. So let's let everyone know what's going on with you. I know you're on the cusp of the Fantastic Horror Film Festival, aren't you, this weekend coming up?
I am, and we're taking a big, bold leap. You know, you said go big at the conference. That was the theme of the conference. Well, I'm going bigger.
What are you doing now?
Well, season 3 of Horror Talk with Kristen West is doing a live audience version at Fantastic Horror Film Festival.
Oh, fantastic. No pun intended. That's awesome.
Yeah, in San Diego. So we're going to be actually talking with the horror stars in front of a live audience, which we have not done before on this show. And second,
we didn't do it either, and it worked out great, right?
It did. So that kind of made me feel a lot better about.
Well, we haven't seen the footage yet, but still, I think it went really well.
That's right. So we're going to be doing a live audience version at Fantastic Horror Film Festival, October 28th, in the afternoon, starting at around 1:32 p.m. in San Diego. So you won't want to miss that. And I've been shopping for studio space for you and I when we go to Bitmovio for first quarter of 2019. So Tell us
a little bit about the Bitmovio platform and the new production that we're going into with the show.
Yes. So Bitmovio is a blockchain-based streaming service. Now, blockchain, what is that? Well, that is the technology that powers Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, all of those new cryptocurrencies you started maybe hearing about this time last year in the financial reports. So blockchain technology actually helps content creators like me and Judy have a more transparent monetization process. And it also, Bitmovio is cool, besides it being, financial and transparent.
It better be cool if What Women Want is going to be on it.
Exactly. This will be a completely interactive experience for our viewers. I love saying that now, viewers, in that you will be able to interact with me and Judy in a live chat box while the show is playing. You can ask us questions. You can suggest questions for the guests. It'll be completely interactive. And we only want positive energy coming through. Exactly. So this is, not only is this really cool, it's actually the future. Because the future of money is digital currency. And the blockchain technology is not just about financial transactions, it's also about data and any sort of information that needs to be looked at in a transparent way. So that's what Bitmovio is about. And it's super cool that we're going to be early pioneers on this, which is really exciting to me. And so What Women Want is to be at the forefront of everything new and exciting, and that is what Judy and I are up to.
And I'm grateful to you for putting this all together. And it's just been phenomenal the way you have been having meetings with these people and really pushing this through and getting many, many shows, actually, of friends and friends of family that we know. So it's good stuff. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I owe a debt of gratitude to two very audacious filmmakers who introduced me to the people at Bitmovio. I owe a debt of gratitude to Sanjeev Sarati and John Ewaz. They are independent filmmakers who make ninja movies and horror movies with ninjas. They're very fun guys. And I met them at, networking is everything, Judy. And I met them at Fantastic Horror Film Festival a few years back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we've been friends ever since. And they actually had another technology venture They're two nerdalicious guys. And they had a technology venture, and they met the people behind Bitmovio, Simon Zhu and Jerry Cowell, at an incubator. Where you go and you incubate your new startup. And they met them at an incubator, and they said, we know this girl who might be able to help you find some content. And they referred me, and then I got in touch with Matt Chasen and said, I understand the blockchain part. If you can help me understand the entertainment part, maybe we can do something. So it's all about working together and using the connections and leveraging the connections that you have to create great opportunities for yourself and others.
That is for sure. Well, let's get down to what lies behind the cover for Liz Gabriel. She's an Egyptian-American singer-songwriter from Texas, Kristen, who writes and performs classical pop music with a piano feature and a pensive vibe. Years of classical training, a vintage childhood, a steeping in Southern gospel, and a love of alternative music have wrought a sound reminiscent of Judy Collins meets Tori Amos. Listeners say that her music is haunting and soulfully healing, evocative and theatrical, magical and hypnotic. Nice combinations, I like that. Liz hopes to make the music that pulls you into reverent places of soulful fulfillment, and hope for whatever drives and inspires you. Welcome back to the show, Liz.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Oh, well, it's so great to have you. And it's been, I looked back in our radio show schedule. It's been about almost 3 years since you've been on the show.
Has it been 3 years? Oh, my gosh. I had no
Can you
idea.
believe it? Yeah, it was about 2.5 years. So I thought that was kind of fascinating in and of itself. So tell us what's been going on. Actually, I want to take a step back and just give the listeners, I was going to say the viewers, Kristen, just give our listeners a quick synopsis of, how you got into the music industry, because it's, to me, such a magical story, and it does have a lot to do with where you are now and what you're writing now.
Okay, well, a quick synopsis. My husband had a 3-year corporate assignment in Prague, so we moved from southern U.S. to Prague. And I had been a musician on and off all my life, but had only started writing music just barely a few months before we left for Prague. We moved into an apartment that turned out to be a 500-year-old historic building that was the home of origin to a Czech composer. So it was an incredibly inspiring environment. On top of that, it was on a street named after a Czech medieval writer. And so it was just, the energy was amazing. And so I started writing prolifically there, like I never had before. And it was being received well by just people around me. And so I decided to overcome my fear by going on the street and playing as a street musician. Just to overcome my fear, I really didn't expect any attention, but I started to get little crowds gathering.
So you wanted to perform, but you were scared to perform, or overcome your fear of what?
Afraid. I was afraid to sing and play my own music.
So you would sing and play covers?
I didn't sing and play anything before this.
Oh, wow, really?
I really didn't. I was a pianist and I was a vocalist, but I had never done both at the same time, and I had not really written.
Now, what was the turning point that got you writing music?
Inspiration, just pure inspiration. I just had it coming into my brain so quickly, the music and the lyrics, and I had the nuts and bolts.
The foundation.
That were necessary to do it. Yes, I just never actually did it. So anyway, so the crowd started to gather. The local establishment started to hire me. And within a year and a half, I was playing for large corporate events at their global conventions. And so it was a miracle. It was just a dream come true to have that experience in Prague.
That's very fast. You grew quickly there.
Yeah, I did.
And wasn't there someone that moved in below you or something, or was already living there that had a significant impact on what you were doing? Or
It wasn't someone living in the apartment. It was the number one guitarist in the Czech Republic. He happened to be friends with my son's drum teacher that's how I got connected to him. And he came right alongside me, encouraged me. I couldn't have done everything I did without his encouragement. He was just a gem. He became my best friend. And I did not know that he was a famous guitarist for the entire 2 years that I worked with him.
So, Kristen, we were talking at the conference this weekend about as soon as you pick what is truly your passion, what really burns deep inside of you that you just love and have to do, it seems like everything starts to fall into place.
We had a lot of discussion around that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are periods of just hard work and faith and keeping your head down, whether anything's happening or not. Like after I came back to the States, that was a whole different story. And but I've been thankful. I have a great community here as well, and I play out a lot, and I keep doing what I'm doing, and it's great. It's the one thing that, I'll talk about this more later, but it's the one thing that's unspoilable in my life. No matter what failures I have, no matter what devastations, the music is pure, it's given to me. You can't spoil it. And so in some ways it's a form of revenge for me to have this music.
A form of revenge? Why do you say a form of revenge?
Because what I'm trying to say is that all of us have devastations and failures and humiliations in our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have that. But this music is the one thing in my life that you can't spoil. It can't be victim of devastation. It can't be victim of failure. It's just got a pure essence, and it's a beautiful part of what I can bring to the world. And so no matter what ugly things happen, this is one pure thing that's good that I can give out to overcome those bad things. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I kind of have a similar relationship to my acting in that no matter what's going on, as people in the arts, we have to live our lives. And sometimes life hands you good things. Sometimes you create good things. Sometimes life hands you bad things or difficult things. And no matter what, the calm and all that storm for me, and I think you probably feel the same way, is the art that you've been given to express. Would that be a good kind of link there? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So
I know I decided to put this single out after I had some bad strings of bad news, strings of mistakes, and I thought, well, I'm going to put this single out now because it's going to balance all of these bad things in my life.
This new single that you're releasing tonight?
Yes, I have a new single.
Kristen, we're very honored to be the first ones here to release this.
You are
at the same night.
It's officially tomorrow. The release date is officially tomorrow, but for this audience, I wanted to make it accessible right away. So it's available on YouTube and my website, so we can talk about access to it in a minute. But yeah, so the song, is it okay if I talk about the song now?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about it, and then maybe we'll play it.
Yeah, we can play a little bit of it. So the song was inspired by real-life events. It's called Bye Bye Little Boy. It has a couple of characters in it. The first character is the mockingbird, which is the same thing as a con man or a con artist. The second character is a naive young man, and he's referred to in the song as the little boy. The song is basically about the death of naivety through the trickeries and mockeries of life, and the birth of maturity through developing the ability to overcome and defeat our giants. So it's very deep, but it's very universal, and it's meant to be a song of great encouragement. And it basically tells the story. It has a music video, which you'll be able to see tonight if you want to go onto YouTube. You can actually see the music video, and it tells a clear story with these characters in it, and it's pretty fascinating.
See, Kristen, if we were on TV at this point, we could show the video.
Exactly. Well, why don't we have a listen?
That would be great.
How do we feel about listening to the song a little bit? Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and cue.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that. Hello?
Hello?
Just a
We're
second.
here.
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm going to get Dina really quick, ladies. Why don't you continue, and I'm going to see if I can get Dina to help us with this. One moment.
I always feel sorry for Christian because she's running a soundboard that looks like the cockpit of an airplane.
Oh, no.
And I don't have to do anything because I'm sitting here in New York, just broadcasting unbeknownst to me. All of these technical glitches go on. So tell me about. I heard the story of the song and what the purpose is. What first inspired you to write a song like this?
The real life episode that inspired the song is that my father was taken by a real con artist and lost a huge sum of money. And as a little girl, I was his muse, and I had to watch him go through this. And he's the kind of man that was able to take that horrible trial. He never got his money back, though the con man did get busted. He was found on his deathbed. He was on America's Most Wanted list. My husband actually launched the investigation that put him there because he became skeptical. He became skeptical of the relationship he had with my dad. So,
ladies, I think we have music. Let me try it again.
Okay.
Why, Daddy, what went awry? Fell under the spell of the mockingbird's cry. Wooing you like a little boy, you were game. He promised you money, promised you fame. He put up screens and mocked your book of rules.
That's good, ladies.
Well, there we go.
Beautiful, Liz.
Thank you. I feel like no one is doing music the way that I do it. I've tried really hard to find a genre, and you can just say female vocalist, singer, songwriter, piano feature. That's about it. that's the genre. So.
Well, there's something about the quality of the music because I was listening earlier, and it really does hit you at your heart and at your heart space. And I had to ask you, Liz, many people have said that your music is healing. And was that your intent when you write? And do you have any stories that you can share about that from your listeners, about maybe how they've reached a space of healing from listening to your music?
Well, I think it wasn't my conscious intent, but my subconscious intent. Encouragement is a huge gift, and it's hugely important to me. And I've suffered plenty, and I've had to learn to overcome and learn to find healing for myself. And so naturally, I want to provide that for whoever I can through my music. And I don't know a story per se. I just know that listeners come to me and have tears streaming down their face sometimes and say, your voice is so healing. And I've had another woman who considers herself a natural healer tell me that it's very, very healing and that there's anointing on it. And so I'm just doing the best that I know to do with all that I've been given. And if it can heal someone, if it can help someone, if it can be transformational for someone, then that's the whole reason I'm on the planet.
And I wanted to listen to the whole song so badly, so I'm going to have to do that. How can our listeners do that?
The best thing to do is go to lizgabriel.com and go to the homepage, which is it's just going to come up right away. You'll see the video and you can play it.
And what's the name of the song?
Bye Bye Little Boy.
Bye Bye Little Boy. That's a great title. It really brings together the innocence of that little boy and what your father was going through. Probably took away a lot of his innocence with your father, right?
Yes, it was just the naivety and the innocence in my dad that had to die. And it happened through that circumstance so that he could become a strong man going forward. And so that's a lot of what happens to a lot of us. And quickly, what I was saying earlier is my wish is that everyone will find something in their life, just like you're acting, Kristen. It might be for another person their volunteer work and the progress they're making. It might be their influence in a classroom or their ability to heal as a physician or a natural healer. Something unspoiled that they can give to the earth and to the world so that it compensates for those failures and those devastations that we all have.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, people do have to find that sense of peace to spread to the world so we can really make this world a better place. I mean, we have to start with ourselves, right? We're always coming back to that, starting with ourselves from within and giving it, to out there, putting it out there. And eventually it'll catch on. Well, Liz, congratulations. We're honored to have you on the show of the night before you release your new single. And I'm excited to hear the rest of it. I'm going to go on there on LizGabriel.com. It's LizGabriel.com. Everybody...
No, Gabriel like the angel, Gabriel, LizGabriel.com. Yeah,
thank
Gabriel
you for
like the
correcting me.
angel.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
that's okay.
wonderful.
You can also go on YouTube and search Bye Bye Little Boy or Liz Gabriel Bye Bye Little Boy, and you'll see it that way as well. But LizGabriel.com will take you straight to it.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for coming on the show, Liz. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Oh, thanks for having me. It was wonderful.
Well, we have some more wonderful for you as well. Christine Agro is
Christine's got a lot of work there.
Yeah, she does. Christine Agro is a nationally recognized spiritual mentor and clairvoyant. She empowers women to create the lives they love with her clear and practical understandings of why we are here, what we are working on, and what we need to do to create change. Christine has been seen on Late Night with Seth Meyers and Animal Planet and featured in the New York Times, and her 9th book, Awaken and Grow, A Practical Guide for Your Spiritual Journey, is due out November 6th. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Hey, thanks so much for having me here.
Well, we are so excited to have you on tonight. Okay, so I have to get this out of the way. You met Seth Meyers. What was Seth Meyers like?
What is he like? I don't know. I found him charming. I think he's a very interesting person. I was on to do some work with his dog, Frisbee, and he loves Frisbee. So, it was interesting. And I think he's a good guy, and I think he's a little hard on himself sometimes.
Oh, and I bet Frisbee takes that on as well. So you were working with his dog? How were you working with his dog?
Well, part of the work that I do, the work that I do is really at the spirit level, so it doesn't matter if it's a person or a dog or a baby or someone who's passed. I can work with them at the spirit level. So a lot of the work, or not a lot of the work, but some of the work that I do is with people and their animals. And it's still the same information of coming back to helping people understand their animals and why their animals are in their lives, and taking off that really heavy responsibility piece that people can have about their animals, and helping them understand that animals have their own life lessons to learn. So, it's not, what's my dog thinking? It's really, what's going on here? What are we working on, and how's it showing up?
I love that, because I think sometimes the pets get neglected in the spiritual conversation, and I know I've had a deep bond with my pets over the years, and well, wow, that's an interest. Not everybody can say that they've met Seth Meyers and Frisbee. So I have, that's real. I bet that makes great cocktail conversation for you, doesn't it?
It does. Well, it doesn't. I mean, I think, I'm not really sure why it is. I would say it's because I live in alignment, but I've had a lot of really, amazing and interesting things happen in my life. Even before I started doing this work, when I graduated from University of Buffalo, Mario Cuomo was the keynote speaker. And as I walked across the stage, I turned around to look at my friend who had a rubber ducky on the top of his cap. And the New York Times snapped a photo, and I was in the New York Times when I graduated from college, and that was my first time in the New York Times, and then I was in it again as a professional. But it's like all these really magical moments in my life that I enjoy.
Well, there you go. So I love this. I'm loving this. Now, I want to talk about a particular moment. I want you to take me back to 1998. You were walking to work in downtown Denver. You were not necessarily a clairvoyant in practice at that time. What was going on in your life, and what happened to you back in 1998? What switch flipped back then?
Well, I had parked at the Dutcher Concert Hall, and I was walking towards work, which I was working at the Colorado Symphony as their director of development. And I had this moment where it was like a light switch turned on, or I got hit by lightning. I mean, there's so many different ways to describe it, but I just stopped and had this awareness, and it was like all these questions came to me, like, how did I get to this place in my life? How did I become a director of development? Why am I a director of development? Why is this what I'm doing? And it wasn't that I was unhappy with my life. I was very happy with my life, but there was this strong sense that there was something more that I was supposed to be doing, and that there was so much more to life than what I understood.
Well, what do you think spurred those questions on, though?
Pardon?
What do you think spurred those questions on all of a sudden?
Well, I think that our awakenings are not like all of a sudden. I think that they grow little by little, and we have these moments of, we have the aha moments, we have these little, things that sort of, pick us and sort of nudge us, and then
until we pay attention to them.
Yeah, and at some point we have this really big awareness, and I talk about cosmic corrections, because a cosmic correction is when we have that awakening, but it's usually we haven't been listening, and we don't listen, and we don't listen, and we don't listen, and finally it's like the rug gets pulled out from under us so that we have to listen. And I feel fortunate that, my awakening came in a kind of gentle way, right? I mean, it was a little like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Yeah, but I didn't have to have a car accident or, have some kind of devastation in my life to have that awakening, where a lot of people, it can take that amount of force to get them to step into seeing their life in a different way, and maybe even stepping into what is their truth and what they're supposed to be doing in the world rather than what they are doing.
Now, there's a lot of people who are, for lack of a better term, spirituality junkies or self-help junkies, where they're reading every book, but their external life doesn't actually really change that much. They're taking in all this information.
Well, and it's really interesting, because I talk about that with my students. I've written about it, and our minds are fantastic tricksters. Right? Our minds can be like, yeah, I got this, I know this. But if we're not actually embodying it, if we're not pulling it into our physical being, into our actual presence, then we're not actually doing it. And all my work is really about getting people to do it, right? To make that shift, to take the information and embody it so that they're living it. But if you think about it, right, you can understand a concept, but understanding the concept doesn't create change.
So how does one embody the change? Is it a daily spiritual practice? What does that mean in really practical, actionable terms?
Yeah, I think it's. I think that it does. It does entail some sort of actual practice. I think it requires understanding what we're working on and how it's showing up, and that's again, a lot of what I talk about in my work is, I think the real core reason that we're here is really simple. I think it's to learn. I think it's to heal, and then it's to grow. And it takes those 3 steps in order to get us to the growth part. So we have to learn it, then we have to heal the energy around whatever it is, and then we grow. And so I do think that, I think it's a lot of bringing ourselves into our bodies. So, some people do it through yoga because yoga has that connection of the mind, body, spirit. I do it by teaching people how to ground and connect to their body and bring themselves in. I think that there's other ways that one can do it, but those are 2 that come to mind that I think are probably most understandable.
Now, how many women in particular, because our primary listenership is women, this is what women want. How many women do you encounter, even as just a percentage, really have a severe disconnect from their body? How big of a problem is this for women in particular?
I would say most people are not connected. If I ask somebody, where do you look to when I say look to spirit, you say, where do you say?
I would say in my heart. That would be my answer.
Okay. Judy, where do you look?
Whoops, I was on mute. I was still looking for it. I would say I go within. So for me, that's meditating and feeling it from the top of my eyebrows down to my core center area.
Okay. So a lot of people, when I ask that question, look outside of themselves. They'll look up, they'll look above themselves, or they talk about, the universe or some outside source being the source of where their power comes from. And to me, that is just a really simple awareness that there's a disconnect there, because the power and the source is our spirit, which is within us, right? That's us. That's who we are. So I think that women, I don't, percentage-wise, I don't know. It's hard. I would say it's hard to put a percentage on it, but I think that women do have a disconnect and are. I think they're searching, and I think what we're looking at right now, particularly with the Me Too movement, is a degree of stepping into standing in our power. So when I talk about the 3 core life lessons, it's learning to validate yourself, standing in your truth, and standing in your power. All of our lessons that we're learning in life, things that happen in our life, I can typically take whatever's going on in someone's life and boil it down to one of those 3 lessons or a combination of those 3 lessons. And if we look at the Me Too movement, it's so much about standing in our power and standing in our truth and reclaiming this aspect of ourselves, which is really incredible. It's so incredible to watch what's going on and see the shift that's happening. And at the same time, there's this really interesting thing that's happening with it where we're kind of retroactively looking at past behavior from a present time awareness, which I think is kind of odd, because it's not possible. We can't go back and change the things that have happened. Mm-hmm. And would like to see us moving forward and creating change in how we all interact together and having this awareness that's now come to the forefront. So it's a really powerful time that we're in so many ways.
It's interesting you brought that up, because there's a lot of discussion about whether or not, or how deeply something that happened 20, 30 years ago in some cases is impacting people today. And there's a lot of discussion around that, and I don't want to really get into the sort of the quicksand of that. I want to focus more about what you're talking about. But yeah, the Me Too movement definitely, I think, is talking about, too, people have what you call core life wounds that can be around trauma and harassment. How do we identify core life wounds, and what do we do with them?
Well, it's so how I see our journey is that we come in wanting to work on these lessons of self-validation, of standing in our truth, of standing in our power. And the first time that we show up in our life with this lesson, let's take, for example, self-validation. And, I'll use myself as an example. So just as it's not totally accurate, but it has the flavor of part of my life. So let's say I'm 3 years old and I walk up to my mom, or I'm 4 years old and I walk up to my mom and I'm super excited about something and I want to show it to her. Maybe I did a drawing or something and I'm like, look at this, or Mom, look at this. And I'm so excited. And the response that I get is like, not now, go away. I'm busy. I don't have time for this. So what happens is, in that moment, instead of receiving validation, I receive the opposite, right? I'm shut down or pushed away. And that creates a layer of wounding. And then you go through your life and you have these layers that get piled onto that. Every time that you look to someone else to validate you, there's another layer that gets piled onto it when the validation doesn't happen. Because at the very core, what you're trying to learn is how to validate yourself. So I have a 14-year-old son. When he was very young, I started with him, rather than saying, I'm so proud of you, although I have said that, but my go-to was, that's so great, you must be really proud of yourself.
And so, interesting.
Right? He learned to validate himself from the very beginning. And it's just fascinating to see him today because he's very confident. And the things that he does, even though he can get nervous, he gets up on stage and he does these things, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's so incredible.
Oh God, I have twin 14-year-old girls. I wish I would have said that 10 years ago. Wow, that's brilliant.
It doesn't, it's not too late to start, right? To start to teach them that validation comes from within and not from people, not from people around us. Because it's such an empowering space.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then standing in our power, I know so many people, and I can, again, use myself as an example, where, and even standing in your truth, I'm the odd duck in my family, and it's like nobody knows what, like they don't know what to say, what I do, and
I bet we all are. Kristen, are you too?
Oh my, yes.
Me too. Same thing. Odd duck. Here we are, all three of us.
It's the Odd Duck Club. Quack quack.
Yeah, and the opportunity there is that we were, we came into these situations where we're challenged to stand in our truth and stand in our power, right? Are we going to do it? Are we going to be who we are? Are we going to step into this truth of who we are? And you're learning that lesson. You're challenged to do it. And I always say, first of all, you have to say yes before you get the rewards, right? And then second, at a spirit level, Spirit's not going to give us all the power that we have until we can show that we can manage it. And that's what this is all about. It's really about, learning how to manage who we can be if we're truly connected as spiritual beings, which is pretty cool.
You know what's funny is I feel like Kristen, she's eloquently summed up the last, 20 or 30 shows, the conference, the guests that we've had, the books that we've talked about, I feel like she just really almost wrapped everything into a package that we've been learning lately. Am I right there?
You're
She's touching on every single important thing that we've been talking about for a long time.
Yes, no, it's true. And I was thinking about this, Christine, is that, another way I like to think about what you just talked about being ready, is that sometimes you may be a certain wattage and you want to go to a higher wattage, but if you plug into that wattage too soon or too hastily, you'll blow out your circuit.
Oh, I've done that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too. I think that people talk about fear and what it means. To me, fear is Spirit's way of saying, are you really sure you want to do this? Right? Is this the step that you really want to take?
And I go back. Listen to those nigglies. I call them the nigglies. You need to listen to them. It's hard.
Yeah. In 2000, what was it? 2008, I think it was. So I had a feature done in the New York Times about my work, and it was really exciting. And the woman who wrote it was like, "This is going to change your life," and I was like, "Oh dear." And so the feature came out, and I got calls, and I got calls from agents and different people and stuff, and I got a call from this producer who was like, we want to do a TV show, and let's do a demo reel. And so I was working on this project, and honest to God, ladies, I cried every day. The fear was so intense. And I was just like, it was so hard for me. And so we were living in Brooklyn, and I would walk my son to school, and he was 4 years old at the time. And the one day, he's got his own little clairvoyant stuff going on, which I really adore. So I'm trying to hide this from him, and I'm walking with him, and I had tears in my eyes, and he looked at me, and he holds my hand, and he goes, "Mommy, it's okay. People are going to be really happy to see you," and there's a big trophy at the end.
Oh, how cute. So,
I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But I ended up bowing out of the project because I realized I just was not ready. Like, I wasn't ready for that level of focus on me. And even now, I've been called to take steps up in my visibility and reaching more people in the last year and a half. And I've gone into it very consciously and looked at it each step of the way and said, is this what I want to do? Because I know there's really great stuff that comes with it, which is really exciting, but there's also the other side, and I needed to be prepared and capable of managing what comes on the other side of it, and which really requires being, completely self-validating and standing in your truth and standing in your power. And so I finally said yes, I think about maybe 7 months ago. I was like, all right.
Well, good for you. And now you have a book coming out, Awaken and Grow. Tell us about the book and where we can find it, Christine.
I'm so excited about this book. I feel like this is, it is the culmination of about 20 years of me working with people and working on myself and just really looking at, how are we doing life and how does our journey flow and what can I share with people to help them understand this process. And so that's the book. The first section is Awaken, so it talks about our awakening and what we go through and what we can expect and experience. And then the second part is about our growth and how our growth happens, because our growth happens in very specific ways as well. Mm-hmm. And then the final part is putting it all together, where I offer tools and tips to help people embody it all. And then if you get the book, at the end, there is a link where you can actually, I've put together videos to actually take people through the work so that they can embody it fully, right? Because I talk, here I am talking about the mind, just gathering the information. I want people to go more deeply with it. So that's part of the book.
Awesome.
that they can actually video series.
And this is going to come out November 6th. They can get the book where? Major booksellers, Amazon. Where can we get the book?
Yep, November 6th. I will be doing. I'll be doing a Kindle launch for $1 US dollar. 6th, 7th, and 8th probably, and then after that it will be available at every booksellers and Amazon, Barnes and Noble as a paperback. So. But I'd love people to celebrate with me and do the Kindle version and just have some fun that first 3 days. So it's also my birthday on the 10th of November. So
well, happy birthday! Now, Christine, I'm sure Judy and I are going to be whipping out our Kindles here in a bit. We know we want to keep up with you. How do we keep up with you online on social media and website and all of that?
Social media, I'm everywhere as at Christine Agro, so that's pretty easy, and it's AGRO. And then my website is awakenandgrow.com, and the book will have its own site, which is awakenandgrowbook.com. So people can find me any of those places, and I would love to connect because I like to chat with people.
I love that. Well, Christine, thank you so much for being on, and everyone, thank you so much for listening to What Women Want Talk Radio. Join us next week for another great show, and we hope you all have a happy Halloween. Remember, subscribe to us on YouTube. Don't miss one show. Go to whatwomenwantradio.com for more, and see you all next week. Have a great night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristen West, only on LA Talk Radio.